So Sisko goes down to Bajor to talk with Wynn's major rival, Vedic Bareil. Bareil is a lot more reasonable about just about everything.
Usually when I meet one of Bajor's spiritual leaders, the first thing they do is grab my ear.
It's unpleasant, isn't it?
I've been far too polite to admit it.
So, even when Deep Space Nine is at its weakest dealing with religious people, it still presents that there are good religious people out there. Well, you've got most of Star Trek beat already, Deep Space Nine, and you're only going to get better.
We've only just begun.
Unfortunately, due to the Vedic Assembly's internal politics, Bareil can't openly support Sisko until he becomes a Kai, if ever. Kai is basically the Bajoran equivalent of the Pope. And now the Bajorans are starting to not just not go to school, but not show up for their duty shifts. This is different than not showing up to school. You gotta do your freaking job.
Are your people willing to throw away everything we've accomplished during the past 7 months?
Sisko and Kira start to have it out. Both of them have a point, sort of, but they're also kind of just getting mad at each other and butting heads. This is a long-term conflict that's just really starting to explode now because of this issue. And it turns out Aquino wasn't killed in the power conduit. He was already killed beforehand by an energy weapon and disposed of in the conduit. Looks like this was a case of a deep space crime.
Could this murder be related in any way to the tensions over the school issue?
You know, is it just me, or was that needlessly dickish of Sisko to try to tie this in? Of course, it's going to turn out this is all tied in together, but there's no reasonable reason for Sisko to suspect Wynn or any of her people of this yet. Neela and O'Brien start to discuss Aquino and the whole Starfleet Bajoran thing, which is really starting to get uncomfortable, and it looks like Neela might have a little bit of a crush on O'Brien. Nothing too bad, but he's going to have to be careful where he steps from now on.
On your toes, O'Brien.
And Odo talks to Quark, Morn! With no results. Odo kind of pieces together what happened to Aquino.
Ensign Aquino goes to Runabout C. He interrupts whoever is tampering with it and is killed. The killer puts the body in the conduit, and instead of going back to Pad C, he changes his plan and moves to Pad A. I'd guess somebody wanted to steal a runabout.
Okay, I guess I am pretty good.
But just as Odo is starting to sum up what happened to Aquino, a bomb goes off at the school. Luckily, no one got hurt.
The prophets have been kind today.
The prophets had nothing to do with what happened here today. This was the work of a disturbed and violent mind who listened to your voice, not the prophets.
Again, this is going to turn out to be all interconnected and all, but Sisko's being a little overly confrontational given what he knows at the time. Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you get to use every opportunity to rag on them.
I don't know. Wynn is really encouraging his suspicions here. With what she said upon approaching the bomb site,
The prophets have been kind today.
and what she said earlier in the shrine,
I cannot be responsible for the consequences.
that really sounds kinda hinky. This is not how you respond to a terrible tragedy. When somebody blows up an abortion clinic, the local archbishop gets on TV and emphasizes that their official position does not condone this violence. For someone who's a master of PR, Wynn is handling this really badly.
Suddenly, manners are dropped on both sides, and their rhetoric comes out.
You are not simply misguided as I once thought. Now I see you want nothing less than to destroy us.
Destroy you.
You live without a soul, Commander. You and your Federation exist in a universe of darkness, and you would drag us in there with you. But we will not go.
And Sisko speechifies right back to her, and with a pretty good speech, no less.
We don't always agree. We have some damn good fights, in fact. But we always come away from them with a little better understanding and appreciation of each other. You won't succeed here. The school will reopen, and when your rhetoric gets old, the Bajoran parents will bring their children back.
And Wynn shares a knowing, sinister look with Neela.
What? The never-before-seen crew member who's suddenly got an important role in this story? No! You don't say!
Anything new on Aquino?
Yes, sir. I found a security bypass module at runabout pad A. It looks like somebody might have wanted to steal a runabout.
You know, I gotta hand it to the director of this episode. The framing of this scene is really well done.
You mean the way Neela kind of just pops into the background, and at first you don't notice, but then you start to look at her responses, and then it starts to really all become about Neela and how she's responding to what the guys in the foreground are saying.
Yeah, this is some bad writing in this episode, but some really clever cinematography at least.
Bareil sacks up and risks some political disfavor with his assembly by coming up to support Cisco on the station. And in what I would consider a pretty wasted and needless scene, Neela comes in and talks with Wynn and confirms that both of them are in on all this nastiness.
You should not be here.
You know, Wynn, you're freaking out over nothing. It's really not that suspicious that she would visit the shrine, being a devout Bajoran and all.
And apparently Wynn tells Neela to do something that's criminal and will probably get her executed, but that she'll be rewarded by the prophets.
Okay, I'm gonna hang back. You guys go forward and claim your 72 virgins. You know, they may have even upped it to 73 now, seriously, so go!
Meanwhile, O'Brien finds a hidden, suspicious computer program that he can't figure out, hidden under his own authority no less, and so he starts to decrypt it. Turns out, it's an escape plan to get out of the station by dropping and raising key force fields. Surrounded by a mob of people, Bareil and Wynn join forces to inspect the bomb damage at the school and to be able to make a statement about how this should never happen. And O'Brien figures out that it was Neela who stole his key, which was how she was able to encrypt the whole program in the first place, and she shut down the weapon detectors so that she can sneak a weapon onto the promenade, normally not possible. Cisco hears about this and he spots Neela coming in. Come on, lady, stop moving in slow motion.
Okay, you guys earned credit with your clever shooting earlier, but now you're going back into debt with this cliched scene. Gun? What gun? I don't see a gun.
Maybe this will be a little more appropriate.
No! Well, your dive wasn't bad, but I just didn't believe you. No! No!
And Neela manages to get a shot off and misses by a mile.
I missed. I never miss.
Those are logically incompatible statements.
We're Bajorans. How would we be able to find someone who's used to killing people on a Cardassian station secretly?
Oh, wait.
Kira suspects that Wynn was actually behind all this, and we know that she's right. But of course, with no proof, Wynn just walks away. So Neela is going to take the blame for trying to kill Wynn's greatest rival, and Wynn is just going to walk away and not be blamed for anything.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Cisco and Kira do manage to make up, admitting that their previous rocky relationship is getting better, which that makes for a good season finale. Oh, well, there, Rick Berman. That explains all the orthodoxy of Star Trek here.
Well, there's your problem.
And so that's In the Hands of the Prophets. By Deep Space Nine standards, it's pretty weak. It has some really bad straw-manning of the religious. And yet, I cannot deny it, this is probably the best single episode I've ever done and might ever do for any Not Our Savior month. If they'd been just a little more willing to show the religious people have a point, and a little more willing to show that the secularist people may be a little prickish and self-righteous, this might have actually been a really, really good reflection on the issues. It also makes for a really bad creation-evolution debate because it barely tips on the issue, and even then only strawmans the people on one side while making the other side look like the rational people. But if you want to see a really cheesy debate on creation versus evolution, tune into the next episode. And no, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to see what comes. As it is, it still stands as a decent episode, just a bad episode of Deep Space Nine, and a bad representation of the religious. Nothing new for Star Trek again. So as usual, decide for yourselves. But as for me, I'm calling this one NOS DS9.
YouTube gave this a ban, so Matt and I hatched a plan. The end credits we would edit just because we can. Instead, here's a new song,
Toys for Boys,
so the credits go
by
on.
Borshaska.
It's public domain, you can't complain, we can't be happy with that. What's the deal with saying we steal It's fair use, we give them their dues. If it's so bad, you block our reviews. Why link up with iTunes?
Making money there.
So if you're hearing this song, YouTube claimed we done wrong. The song title is still vital, right near the end. You'll see what could have been.
It was fun.
If we just talked like friends.
For no one.
Instead of discussion, you went for expulsion. That's why this tune has gone on. What more can I say? YouTube gets their way. The old music, we won't use it. Copyright wins. They prevent their loss. We repost past toss. No copywriting means no more fighting. I hope you enjoyed what was banned. What's the deal with saying we steal? It's fair use, we give them their dues. If it's so bad, you block our reviews. One link up with iTunes.
Well, that's a waste of doubt.
YouTube gave this a ban, so Matt and I hatched a plan.
It looks like this has just become a deep space crime. Now you can grow.
Oh, God! Jesus in heaven!
Was that terrible or was it terrible? Oh, it was terrible.